Getting started with Newired. In this video, we'll cover the product fundamentals. So we'll check together what a journey is, how to create journeys, how to create some basic ones, and how to create tips. So what actually is a journey? A journey explains a process with a step-by-step guide. So it will explain a linear process with multiple bubbles, following as much as possible the behavior of the user. So as you can see on the screen, you might have some very basic operation, which would be the login interaction, and you are able to do to create bubbles which will guide as the user is going into the specific process through different steps. Um, the difference from journey to a tip is that essentially tips do not explain a linear process, but it will more explain specific elements. So do not explain a linear process, but it will give you contextual additional information to one specific context of your environment. Now let's open together the editor and see how to actually make some content, how to make journeys and tips. So I will open my editor over here, and the Newired editor is a standalone application which needs to be installed in your computer, and you can get the download for it from your own portal. So under the download section, you get the downloaded editor, and then you get inside, you create your credentials, you log in, and there you have your editor set up. Now the editor behaves as a usual um, browser. So as you can see over the bigger side, we have the whole browser behavior, browser-like application, which allows us to guide to navigate through um, any kind of site. In our case, we would have to choose, of course, our target web application on which we want to build some guidance on. So once we are on our web application of choice, we'll have to start using our sidebar. As you see here, this allows us to create new journeys and new content, also new tips. So let's start to create a very basic, simple journey which would cover the login process over my Suite CRM web application, which is an example of any kind of application that works over web. So let's start by clicking the plus button here, create a new journey. And as soon as I click that, I will have my bubble here on which I can attribute my journey name. In this case, we'll call it login journey, and we click on save. Now once you create it, you will have this over your sidebar, which allows you to create multiple sequential steps. From here, by clicking the plus, you can choose between a different choice of steps that we can give to our guidance. We have a few different options to cover any kind of need that we need to describe over your application. So let's start by having a simple callout over our username. So we want to type, we want to say to the user, start typing your username here. So I'll add the callout, and you see as soon as I click callout, we will have this selector over here. Now the selector helps us define the score of reliability of the elements over your page. So as you can see, you have five dots which give you generic score of that element. So the higher the score, the better, meaning that if the score is high enough, Newired guarantees that that element gets selected over time because it has unique properties, which is fundamental to find it again over and over for any kind of end users. You may find some cases where you have lower score. Now, this would mean that the element you're currently selecting, it's not extremely reliable. Um, Even so, you're still able to attach some steps on it, but there are some ways to make it improved that we cover in another video, which is advanced selector precisions that you can check out. In this case, we need to pick up the username element. So this one is a very good score. I don't need to worry about having the step reliable over this specific one. So I'll simply click over my element, and as you can see already a bubble starts appearing, and I'm able to type and start creating my steps. So we have some inline editing capabilities which allows us to directly start writing over the bubbles any kind of content that we need to give. So in this case I will say type, I will just write here, type your username here, and I'm also able to simply drag these over different directions in my compared to my element here. So for example, in this case I want to have it, I want the bubble to be over the right side, so I will simply drag it over here and I simply change my position here. Now from here I can also define the types of transitions that I can give to my specific bubble. Now transitions are very fundamental because they define the way that the end user will trigger the next steps. So it's very important to define the best way for your user, for whoever is using journeys, to pick the correct one. Now we have a different set of options over here. As you can see, we have the click transition, which simply gets triggered by clicking over the specific element that we selected, and as soon as you click it will simply go forward. We have the next button, which you see it creates a next button here that you need to click in order to move forward. We have edit input, which is the choice for this specific step. Edit input essentially gives you it will wait for you to start typing over some edit box. So as soon as you are typing your username, the bubble will go forward to the next one, which is the one that we need to go. But let's go through all of them, and then we'll go back to edit input and finish our first login journey. Another one is value change. Value change is used mostly for drop-down menus. So as soon as you are selecting some drop-down menu value, so you are picking over any kind of choice over your drop-down menu, it will read the change over over your element and then simply go through. So in the case that you want to have like multiple selection, or a different case where you simply select something, this is the case to use value change. Another one, as the name explains, hover transition, which gets simply triggered by hovering the element that we selected. We have multiple step, which allows you to have more than one step appear together. So essentially, if I input this multiple step over here, this first step will appear with the second one, and we'll also see how that looks as soon as we have more. Then we have timing, which, as the name says, you define some specific number, which would be in seconds. After that, it will simply go through and move forward. And then we have URL change, which will read the behavior of the browser As soon as the URL changes, it will move next. So in this case, we'll choose edit input, right? Because we want the user to start typing something. And once I have my basic step, I can simply confirm my changes from here. So I simply click this, and I can go ahead and start typing and adding my other bubbles. So I'll click add another callout over password, and I can say type your password here. Move this again over the right side, and switch to edit input, because it's very similar to the other one that we have as the username. Now we confirm this one, and we need only another one step, which would be, click over the login button. So very simple journey, 3 steps, which help you through the login process. So I type click here, the transition of type click, because we want to click over the login button, and I confirm the changes. Now I do have drafted down my basic journey using callouts, but what if I want to add some different kind of bubbles which are not callouts? So what are my choices? As we can see here, we can add a dialog, and a dialog essentially it's very similar to steps, but the only thing that changes is that it doesn't need to be referenced to any specific element inside the page. So it's a more bigger bubble, bigger step, which doesn't really need to be attached to anything and acts as a overlay over your screen. Now this is mainly used for introductions, or if you have a lot of content that you want to share with your end users, you can use these. As you see, you can have much space over here. You can start typing some very big content here and go on. Or maybe you want to share some video or media file, any related to the training or to the process that you want to explain, or simply to conclude whatever you are explaining over your journey. So this is the dialogue. But what if we want to, and let me just delete this over here. What if we want to also add a panel? The panel is very similar to the dialogue, but essentially instead of being at the center of the screen, and by the way, the dialog locks any kind of other additional inputs over the web application. So you can only simply either close the modal, the dialog, or move forward with the next button or timing. Or the panel simply allows you to do multiple inputs and continue working with your web application as you have this bubble appear on screen. So I just created a double, so let me just delete this one, and I'll go edit this other one. So I can add my congratulations. Let's say, because sequentially we are now typing username, typing password, clicking over the login button, and now I expect to be inside the CRM application. So right now I just simply want to say congratulations, you're now inside the web application. And done. So okay, so right now we have this other dialog over here, which will appear as soon as we log in. Let's now simulate this this journey by simply clicking the play button here. So I will play my journey, click over here, I will start typing my demo, and then I switch to password and type my password here, and then I click over login. So you see now it's logging in. I have my bubble here. As you can see, I'm previewing as I'm going through the application. I can test. I can also change and tweak any kind of um, content inside my bubbles with the in-place editing. Also switch transitions and go on. But now I'm inside my application. I can go wherever. I still have my bubble that gives me contextual information without being too much aggressive. And I can simply click my end journey, and that's it. I'm inside. I did the process, and um, that's how you actually create a login journey.